So I have been sick AF all week, just a brutal cold. You can probably still hear it in my voice. I could barely breathe, just mouth breathing all week, chest pains, cough, runny nose, the whole gamut. Just a terrible week, still sick. And I would literally do anything to get rid of this cold. So naturally, someone sent me this video from Wim Hof. Let's check it out.
When is the last time I had a cold? It must be amnesia, but I don't know. It's long, very long time. I go to the cold. You know what it is? If you don't go to the cold, then the cold comes to you. So it didn't came for a long time, because I always go. You see what I mean? To prevent from having cold, flus, and all kinds of things of the winter, which is related to the cold, you better take the cold showers. You go into the cold, and it never comes to you. You go over there.
Okay. So, damn. I wish I thought of that. In order to prevent a cold, just take cold showers and go to the cold, and you don't get colds. Wish I thought of that, Wim. Well, as someone that exclusively takes cold showers, cold plunges almost daily, I guess I just must be missing something. I guess I'll just have to buy one of your overpriced courses. That's probably the missing piece. So, little life update for me, still sick. You could definitely hear it in my voice, so keep that in mind throughout the podcast. And every time I'm healthy, I always want to just be such a naturalist in life. And I want to just do everything like with natural remedies and do everything. And then when I'm healthy, I just think, okay, I know I'm eventually going to get sick. And this time around, when I get sick, I'm going to just be natural. I'm going to not take any pharmaceutical medications, nothing over the counter, no CVS. I'm just going to heal this thing naturally. And then lo and behold, you get sick. And I could not get to the Mucinex fast enough. I couldn't hit the NyQuil fast enough. So everything just goes out the window when you're sick. And I'll tell you what, the last thing that I wanted to do when I was sick was cold plunge. I could probably put this under the biohacking without the degree section of the podcast, but I really just felt like when I was sick this past week, my body just needed to heal itself. It did not need any external stressors from a cold plunge. I just needed to listen to my body, get good amounts of sleep, good rest, and just let it heal, So for me this week, absolutely no cold plunges happened whatsoever. And unfortunately, tons of CVS over-the-counter medication, but that's neither here nor there. One day, maybe I'll figure out the holistic way to get rid of a cold, but I can guarantee you it is not as easy as just going to the cold, as the great Wim Hof would say, or just cold showers, all these things. Actually, I still did take cold showers when I was sick, so that was the one thing that I continued to do. I pretty much always take cold showers. I can't really take hot showers anymore. It just makes my skin too dry. So I did take the cold showers, but admittedly, no cold plunges for me during my illness. Hopefully I get better soon. I am still figuring out the podcast, and right now it's just fun. I'm in the beginning stages, just creating all the graphics, visualizing where the show is going to go, creating the segments. Just for all the podcast nerds out there, I recently switched my hosting from Zencaster over to Spotify because I more and more realize that this show is definitely going to be very reliant on the video. I want the video to really shine for this podcast, and I've come to realize that to the numbers that I've seen, 25% of people that are listening to podcasts in the United States are listening via Spotify. And if I wanted to have Spotify video for the podcast, I have to use Spotify as a host. So I moved my hosting over to Spotify. And quite frankly, it's been great. Another thing, Spotify is actually free. So I'm saving a ton of money by switching to Spotify. I know that sounds like a commercial. They are obviously not paying me. But yeah, so with Spotify now, I'll have the videos on Spotify. The videos also on YouTube, which I think is going to just be great and help to just make the show that much more interactive and just try to bring as much value as I can to the community. With that being said, I still want this to be very community based. So once again, if you have any questions about the show, something you want to see me answered, a topic that you want to see me covered, I cannot stress enough, check out our official Cold Plunge community. The link for that and everything I talk about in the show will be in the show notes. First, we had Google Glass, then we had the Oculus, and now Apple is getting in the mix at their attempt to take us one step closer to the dystopian hellhole that absolutely nobody is asking for. Introducing the Apple Vision Pro. Will it follow the routes of its predecessors and become major industry flops? Or will people embrace this new technology and allow our tech overlords to force us to live in a Ready Player One type of world? If you haven't seen Ready Player One, you really should. It's literally the Apple Vision Pro, and it's literally here. So I saw this tweet, and for those listening at home, basically it is a video of somebody recording the inside of the Apple Vision Pro, and basically the Apple Vision Pro is just blinking really, really fast. It almost looks like a rave. And I know exactly what everyone's going to say next. Basically, anytime you record any type of a screen, it's going to have this flickering effect, and that's just simply the frame rate. It's the hertz. So if you were to record a cell phone or a TV screen or a computer monitor, it's going to have this flickering effect just like it has in this video. The difference between that is that with cell phones and computer monitors, you're not putting that right up to your eyes. So it's not like a rave is happening right in front of your face. At least there's some separation. So that's why I am naturally worried about the Apple Vision Pro, and I sure as heck will not be one of the first people to put this thing anywhere near my eyes for the time being and hopefully ever. So anyway, the tweet goes on to say, look at the pulse width modulated flicker from the Vision Pro. There's no way I'm putting this thing close to my eyes. He goes on to say, Apple Vision Pro looks like a blue light hellhole, and I certainly could not agree more with the take. Some replies to the tweet say, I put a VR headset on once before and my eyes were fried after 30 minutes. Everything looked less colorful when I took the headset off. Took a bit for my eyes to reset. Won't be doing that again. Another guy, Mike Hobart, says, seems like MK Ultra 3.5. So just some things to keep in mind, some alternative opinions as these companies want us to be the guinea pigs for their new money-making endeavors. And if you actually look, you can go to the official Apple website, and they actually have a whole section on the lasers, which I find very interesting. Probably people won't be talking about too much, as the influencers just want to influence and show everyone their cool goggles as they go around the city and go in the subway systems and Well, listen to this. Lasers. The near and far depth sensing systems in the Apple Vision Pro contain one or more lasers. Components in the laser systems may prevent the safety mechanisms from functioning properly and could cause hazardous exposure and injury to the eyes or skin. So yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine putting these laser goggles, just shooting lasers into your eyes, flickering back and forth. I mean, that it just cannot be good. I mean, I don't have to have a degree to know that this is just not going to be good for your eyes and our brain and our mental mindset. What it is good for is making Apple more money. That's what it's good for. And I'm just so scared that as the Apple Vision Pro becomes more and more popular, we will inevitably see more and more eye issues, as quite frankly, our hunter-gatherer eyes and brains have not seen anything even close to this. Unfortunately, I'm pretty certain that this is the inevitable future that our tech overlords have intended for us. You will live in the pods, you will eat the bugs, you will wear the glasses, and you will be happy. because in VR Apple Vision world, you're a king. You get all the girls and you have all the shiny objects. It won't matter that you're actually in a pod, actually eating bugs, and actually connected to some sort of life support. I, for one, will be resisting this technology for as long as possible. This is the cold world of social media. Are cold saunas the next hot trend? So this is a picture that I came across in one of the Facebook groups. Basically, it's this guy in what he is calling a cold sauna. So the sauna is just, instead of wood, there's just snow or ice. And I guess people just sit in it as they would in a hot sauna, but this is a cold sauna. So I guess they just sit in a cold box surrounded by ice and they just freeze. So in my opinion, it just really seems like a lazy man's ice bath, but could be like a good starter if you don't quite want to go into the ice bath just yet. Maybe you just go into one of these cold saunas. But I'll tell you what, I mean, the only benefit that I could really see to this, as opposed to just going outside when it's cold out, is that you can immerse yourself in the cold without any wind chill, and you could just sit there. So I guess it's maybe a little bit more relaxing than just being outside in the winter time. But realistically, I think that you're better off just going outside and getting your cold exposure in the direct sunlight. That's like the best of both worlds. Shout out Andrew Huberman. Saunas are truly just my favorite thing in the entire world. Quite frankly, I wouldn't enjoy cold plunging even half as much if saunas didn't exist. They are the yin to my yang, the peanut butter to my jelly, the butter to my coffee. And quite frankly, this just feels sacrilegious to me. So I am officially out on cold saunas. And now on to the final segment of the show, Cold Take. My cold take for the week is working out hard is overrated. So one new change I've had in my life is going to a CrossFit gym. And I could literally dedicate a 3-hour podcast to my thoughts on the intricacies of CrossFit, but that's neither here nor there. Now, I've never been into all this motivational hardo type stuff, but when you're doing CrossFit, sometimes, at least me, I would just work out so hard every single workout that I'm literally on the floor gasping for air. It would feel like my body and my brain just went to war, and quite frankly, I loved every single second of it. But nonetheless, I was in the middle of a CrossFit workout, and in typical me fashion, I started to fade fast. And I reached in, I digged down, I reached deep into my soul for all the cringy, hardo, David Goggins type of motivation that I could find. Conquer your inner bitch. You know, all that stuff, you know, all that nonsense. And ultimately, I got through the workout. I think it ended up being a total of like 150 butterfly pull-ups. For those of you who don't know what butterfly pull-ups are, it's basically like the quintessential CrossFit style pull-up that everybody makes fun of. You use so much momentum, which just allows you to do so many more pull-ups than you would normally be able to do. And a lot of people will criticize that CrossFit pull-ups are terrible for you, but I don't know. I will say they are a ton of fun because you could just do so many. And because of all the momentum I was using, I was just hammering my biceps. And needless to say, I got through the workout and it felt pretty good. I had a crazy pump. And quite frankly, I didn't think much of it. Just thought, great workout. Boom, done. Then 2 days later, I had extreme bicep pain. Like I could barely even bend my biceps. I couldn't pick anything up. It hurt to sleep. And this was 2 days later, mind you. So just crazy pain. My biceps were huge. They were like swollen huge, which I also thought was pretty cool because I'd never seen my biceps as big as that. And so that was 2 days after. And this literally went on for like a whole week. I really didn't think much of it, but I was randomly Googling some symptoms one day. And I came across this thing called Rhabdo. Rhabdo is short for, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but rhabdomyolysis. And I found out that Rhabdo is prevalent in CrossFit athletes, and it's extremely prevalent in the exact movement that I was doing. I literally had all the symptoms. So just for a quick definition, rhabdo is a serious medical condition where damaged muscle tissue breaks down rapidly. This breakdown releases a protein called myoglobin into the bloodstream. The myoglobin can damage the kidneys, and if there is enough myoglobin in the bloodstream, it can cause the kidneys to completely fail. And this can cause some people to actually have to go on dialysis or even worse, die. So if you think you have rhabdo, the best thing you could do apparently is to just go to the hospital and they flush out all the toxins with IV fluids. I, of course, didn't know I had rhabdo. I did not go to the hospital because I didn't know that I had this condition for about a solid 2 weeks. So what did I do to solve my problems in that first week of having rhabdo? I did what I always do to solve my problems. I went to the sauna, which I've since learned is probably one of the worst things you can do because I was just further dehydrating my body rather than flushing all the fluids out. Luckily, I'm pretty good about drinking a lot of water in the sauna. My rule of thumb for the sauna is to drink about as much water as I sweat out. So hopefully I did that. I don't really remember, but who knows? Nonetheless, the way to know that you do have rhabdo is you test your creatine kinase or CK levels, and if your CK levels are high, it pretty much means that you had rhabdo. So I did get my CK levels tested about 2 weeks after the workout, and nonetheless mine were high, and needless to say, this was still 2 weeks out, so I can't even imagine how high my CK levels were that whole week when I was like super sore and going to the sauna like an idiot. They must have been off the charts high because they were still high 2 weeks after. So I'll never actually know how bad my rhabdo was, but I definitely had it. It definitely was bad. And let's just hope that I didn't do any long-term damage. And needless to say, this whole rhabdo thing is all because I wanted to push my limits. And it all comes back to David Goggins. And I don't mean to pick on David Goggins, but to me, he's just like that guy. He's the hardo motivational guy. And I know this is a Cold Plunge podcast, but it's also a health podcast because that's really why we're all here. That's really why we're all into cold plunging. And I just don't think at all, and I'm living proof that all that dig deep into your workout until you collapse type stuff, I just don't think that that is healthy. And quite frankly, it's sending the absolute wrong message to people because the real world is so much more than a freaking Instagram with inspirational music. And unfortunately, the real world has real consequences. So what I want to take away from this is listen to your body, not some motivational guy you see on Instagram Reels. Work out hard, but not too hard. Since my rhabdo incident, I've really just been in maintenance mode, really not overdoing anything, just light workouts a couple times a week. The most I really push is like 80%. I really feel like working out is a lot like stock investments. When you're young, you finish college, you get some crappy job, and your dad tells you to put all your money into savings and 401ks and blah, blah, blah. And at the time, you're young, you think, man, this is so stupid. 15% of what I'm making, it's almost nothing. This seems like such irrelevant amounts of money to be putting into your savings. But if you listen to your dad and you just put that money away and you don't think about it, by the time you're older, you're going to be in a really, really good place financially. And when you're older, you won't need to work much because you'll have saved enough money that your money is then making money for you. Well, working out is the exact same way. If you just put in the work when you're younger, and when you're younger, you can really work out so much more. Your recovery time is better, you can eat like an animal, your injury risk is lower, and you just have so much free time. So if you just put in the work when you're younger, it becomes so easy to maintain your fitness and physique when you're older. So me, for example, I'm 35. I'm not working out even close to as hard or as much as I did when I was in my 20s, but I look pretty much the same. I'm just maintaining, I'm coasting. And for me, I'm just living off the dividends from all the working out I did in my 20s. This is the Cold Plunge Podcast with me, Mike Gorman. Be sure to check out the video version of this podcast on our YouTube channel and check the show notes for any references, studies, or links to anything I spoke about on our website at plungereviews.com/podcasts. If you have a question you want answered or comment about the show, feel free to reach out in our official Facebook group, which is called Cold Plunge Community.